Most cat bites don't come out of nowhere. Owners almost always say the same thing afterward. They just snapped. There was no warning. We were having a nice time and then, out of nowhere, they bit me. But cats aren't actually silent before they bite. They're loud in a language most owners were never taught to read. The signals are there every single time, sometimes seconds before it happens, sometimes minutes. Just not in a form we were ever trained to notice. And once you know what to look for, you'll probably realise your cat has been warning you for years. 1. The tail tip twitch. Picture this. Your cat is sitting calmly on your lap, tail resting still, everything looks fine. Then just the very tip starts flicking. Not the whole tail, just the last inch or two, twitching like it has a mind of its own. That's not random, and it's not the same as a happy tail. A full, relaxed tail sway is one thing. A sharp, isolated tip twitch is your cat's nervous system starting to spike, even while the rest of their body is still trying to hold still and stay calm. It's an early tell, almost a leak, of a feeling the rest of the body hasn't caught up to yet. Evolutionarily, a cat's tail is one of the fastest moving parts of their body, wired directly into emotional arousal. It reacts before the rest of them does, which is exactly why it's one of the earliest signals available to you if you're paying attention. Here's what most owners miss. They wait for the whole tail to thrash before they back off. By then, you've already missed the first warning. The moment you see just the tip going, that's your cue to slow down, ease off whatever you're doing, and give your cat a breath. 2. The ripple down the back. This one shows up most often during petting. You're stroking your cat's back, everything feels fine, and then you notice the skin along their lower spine ripple, almost like a shiver, without the rest of their body moving. That ripple is a genuine physical response tied to overstimulation. Cats have a much lower threshold for repeated touch than most owners assume, especially toward the base of the tail. And that skin twitch is often the very first physical sign that a pleasant interaction is tipping into an uncomfortable one. Feline behaviour. Researchers refer to this general pattern as petting-induced overstimulation, and it's one of the most common, most preventable causes of sudden bites. The cat isn't randomly turning on you. Their body has been quietly signalling that's enough for several seconds before the bite actually happens. That's not random, and it's not your cat being unpredictable. It's your cat's skin doing exactly what it's supposed to do, sending a signal before things escalate. The moment you feel that ripple, that's the moment to stop petting, not the moment after they've already nipped you. 3. Ears rotating sideways or back. You've probably seen this without realising what it meant. Ears that were forward and relaxed suddenly rotate outward, almost like little airplane wings, or flatten slightly backward against the head. Cat ears are packed with muscles that respond almost instantly to emotional state, and that sideways rotation is one of the clearest visible signs of rising discomfort or defensiveness available to you. It's not the same as fully flattened, terrified ears. This is an earlier, more subtle stage, which is exactly why it's so useful to learn. Before we move on, think about how often you've been mid-pet, mid-hug, or mid-play, and your cat's ears shifted just slightly, and you kept going anyway because nothing else looked wrong. That sideways ear rotation is your cat's early warning system doing its job. Ignoring it is usually what turns a warning into an actual bite. 4. The hard, fixed stare. There's a specific kind of eye contact that's easy to confuse with affection if you don't know the difference. A soft, half-lidded gaze, especially with a slow blink, is a trust signal. But a hard, unblinking, locked-on stare, often with pupils that have narrowed rather than softened, is the opposite. That's focus building toward a defensive response, not affection. This distinction matters because a lot of owners lean in closer when a cat stares at them, assuming it's a bonding moment. With a soft gaze, that's usually fine. With a hard, fixed stare, leaning in is often the exact thing that pushes things over the edge, because you're closing the distance a tense cat was trying to maintain. That's the difference worth remembering. Soft eyes invite you in, hard eyes are asking for space. Learning to tell them apart in half a second is one of the most useful skills a cat owner can build. 5. Sudden stillness. This is the one that trips up the most owners because it looks like the opposite of a warning. A cat who was just relaxed, maybe rubbing against your hand, maybe mid-play, suddenly goes completely still. No movement, no sound, body frozen mid-position. Most people read stillness as calm. With cats, says, sudden freezing after a period of activity is very often the opposite. It's a pause right before a defensive strike. The same instinctual mechanism that lets a hunting cat go motionless right before a pounce just redirected into a defensive context instead of a predatory one. Here's what most owners miss completely. They see the stillness and think the moment has passed, so they reach in for one more pet, one more scratch. That extra reach, timed right after the freeze, is one of the most common bite triggers there is. If your cat goes suddenly still after activity, that's the moment to pause, not to push forward. 6. The tight tail wrap or repeated thump. There are two versions of this one, and they both point in the same direction. Sometimes a cat's tail wraps tightly and rigidly around their own body, held close and controlled rather than relaxed. Other times, instead of a slow thrash, you'll see a repeated sharp thump against the floor or furniture, almost like a countdown. Both versions represent barely restrained tension. A loosely draped tail says, "I'm relaxed." A tightly wrapped or rhythmically thumping tail says the opposite. The cat is holding themselves together, and that control has a limit. That's not a random fidget, and it's not your cat being dramatic. It's one of the more physically obvious signals on this list, and also one of the most consistently ignored, mostly because owners assume a stillish tail means a calm cat. A tightly wrapped tail is anything but relaxed. 7. Flattened, forward-pushed whiskers. This is the subtlest one, and also one of the most reliable once you know it. Relaxed whiskers rest out to the sides, loose and slightly drooping. When a cat is building toward a defensive bite, the whiskers often push forward and flatten, bunching closer together, almost pointing at whatever they're focused on. Whiskers are deeply connected to a cat's sensory and emotional processing. They're not just for measuring gaps, they shift position constantly based on internal state. A forward, flattened whisker position, paired with any of the other 6 signals on this list, is about as close to a guarantee as cat body language gets that a bite is close. Before we wrap up, think about how much information is actually available in a cat's face and body at any given moment. Most owners are trained to notice maybe 1 or 2 of these 7 signals. Cats are giving you all 7, every time, whether we're watching closely enough to see them or not. None of this means your cat is aggressive, unpredictable, or dangerous. It means the opposite, really. Your cat has been communicating clearly this entire time, using a language built on trust, safety, and self-protection, the same instincts that kept their ancestors alive long before any of them lived on a couch. A bite isn't usually a failure of trust. It's usually a failure of us noticing the 6 or 7 signals that came before it. Once you start watching for the tail tip twitch, the skin ripple, the ears, the stare, the stillness, the tail wrap, and the whiskers, you'll likely start catching the warning 2, 3, sometimes 5 signals earlier than you ever did before, which means fewer bites, and a cat who trusts that you're actually listening to them. If this helped you understand your cat a little better, hit like and subscribe if you want more of this. Real feline behavior, explained clearly every week. And if you want the full picture beyond just this one behavior, the Cat Mind ebook breaks down 14 more of these signals and situations in depth with a quick reference cheat sheet you can keep coming back to. It's linked in the description and pinned in the comments below. Grabbing a copy is one of the best ways to support this channel directly. Your cat's been talking this whole time, now you know how to listen.